one that just kind of came in on compensation and pay. Do you use pay and compensation synonymously? Because I think there's a difference between the two. Compensation could be the form of increased leave or another bump in OJTI premiums, whereas pay specifically, in my opinion, would directly affect base pay before locality.
No, don't use them synonymously. And whoever wrote that, well said. I will also add, let's give a little bit of background and history. It doesn't mean, again, I need people to realize and our members to realize we don't have to panic when we say, the facts of the past. That doesn't mean the realities of today aren't true, or that anybody's not concerned with pay, the economy, the difficulties of today. It's now where we used to look at just the coast and say, "Ooh, man, it must be really difficult on the West Coast," or "Oh man, it must cost a lot to live there on the East Coast." There is very few places in the U.S. now that aren't feeling the impacts and effects, and it's migrated into the center of the country as well as all the different levels of inflation, house costs, interest rates, etc. Is give it a little bit of background on pay. Again, it doesn't change the narrative that it's not something that we need to figure out how to navigate these times on. There has only been 3 times in our history of NACA that we have changed and actually been able to move pay upward. 98, when pay reclass was a part of it. So since anybody has been hired that would be on this call, there's been those 3 times. We negotiated it with the Green Book. Then the White Book erased that for those who have been around since that time, which is me. Got hired in 03. That was erased in 06. Pay froze until 2009, where we went back and the result of binding arbitration. And many on this National Executive Board, Mike Christine, Mick Devine, I think, and others that were not made whole. It was an award to bring them up more, but never never being fully compensated of all the wages they lost. I was froze at my pay for that entire time. So we had that. Then we had in the Red Book, the solidifying and changing of pay bands to incorporate a raise associated with that. And then in 2016, we were able to get where the bands actually moved up and didn't stop when the January raise was brought in and the strategies associated with that. So those have been the 3 times in our history that we have moved pay up. When it's negotiated, it can go up, go down, remain the same. And all the arguments that we make to one another are the arguments of, that we weigh and look at when we go into a term negotiation. And in the meantime, when you're not term negotiating, you look for ways and create the opportunities to recognize the workforce through compensation, as was just stated from there. Never in our history have we had and got one of those pay raises under a Republican administration, but it doesn't mean that we give up and throw our hands up either. Like I said, we're partnering with this administration, building on our relationship with Secretary Duffy, taking the comments like he made in Duluth and saying, okay, if things would be better and we can be carved out of that and have the fair and complete right to bargain, we absolutely should, just like we were going to do in July of 26, until these executive orders took that away from us. And we needed to put ourselves in a position to protect ourselves and see what gains we could make while this administration was in office. And no one knew right off the bat whether it'd be executive orders. It's highly likely, which came to fruition, but that was the importance of protecting it and not having it at a loss for nothing to be returned on it. So just a little bit of background about pay, where it's been, kind of the down and dirty of it, and the executive orders that are in place today that we have to face and we have to navigate through. Well, pay is on the top of everyone's mind because of the economy being where it's at, and we need to stay in a position to find the best way and path forward given those circumstances. If somebody was to go in and say, and you can fair and completely bargain tomorrow, we'll carve you out of the executive orders, we'll sign up, we'll be at the table next week. If somebody's wanting to throw money our way and saying, man, you all are working extremely hard, here you go, sign us up, let's sign it next week. When they're kind of going back and forth. I know it was tongue in cheek when people said when Secretary Duffy had put out that they gave a 30% pay raise to the air traffic controllers, and they were talking about the $5 raise for those of the academy. Sign us up. We're in, if that is to be the reality. No one's trying to shy away from it. It's just being honest with you of what realities we face, how we get through it together, and I know that's one of the most common things talked about in it, but we also have to talk about the risks versus the rewards and the way that we get there.